BMW had one rider at the top of their list. The Moto2 championship leader, 23 years old, 51.5 points clear at the summer break, was their top target for 2027. Then, on the 29th of July, they signed Brad Binder instead. A rider KTM had just thrown away, and by the next morning, Manuel Gonzalez was on the phone to Ducati, chasing a seat that was already half gone. Nobody in this paddock is saying out loud what that sequence means. So what does BMW think it knows about Gonzalez that his championship does not show? And why is the man winning Moto2 suddenly worth less than the men MotoGP is throwing out? Here is why this is bigger than one Superbike contract. It is not really a Superbike story at all. This is the 2027 MotoGP grid story, told from outside the fence, by the one rider who can see exactly how the machine works and still cannot get through it. Every door that shut on Gonzalez in the last 6 days shut because somebody else's project needed the room. Not because he was slow, not because he lost. He is right now the most successful rider in the intermediate class, and the paddock has spent a week treating that as a problem to root around. 6 days, 3 doors. The order they closed in is the whole story. Start on the 26th of July. Tech 3 made their call on the final rookie slot for 2027 and took Senna Agius, Gonzalez's own teammate, at Intact GP. Same garage, same bike, same data. The rider who finishes second in that garage got the MotoGP seat. That was the last Premier Class door in the building, and it closed on the one comparison Gonzalez wins almost every Sunday. 3 days later, BMW moved. Binder, 30 years old, 7 seasons in MotoGP with KTM, had already been told there would be no renewal. KTM cleared the decks for the 850cc reset and brought in Alex Marquez and Fabio Di Gianantonio, 2 proven race winners for the factory team. Binder, the most loyal rider on their books, was the cost of that decision. And within weeks of losing his ride, he had the BMW Superbike seat, the one BMW had been holding for Gonzalez. Look at what BMW actually bought. Not the championship leader, not the 23-year-old with 9 wins in the class. They bought a known quantity with a MotoGP name attached at the exact moment that name came available cheap, and they did not stop at Binder. Miguel Oliveira, the other former KTM factory rider, extended at the same time. 2 years with an option on a third. That is not a stopgap, that is a foundation. Put the 2 signings side by side and the shape of it appears. BMW has rebuilt the KTM factory garage of 2021 and 2022, rider for rider, inside a Superbike team. Somebody had already paid for that. Danilo Petrucci arrived at BMW this season, struggled to find a feeling with the bike, and on the 30th of June, his option went unexercised. 1 year and out. So the seat Gonzalez was supposed to inherit was standing open a full month before Binder signed. And what BMW finally did with it was reach back into a paddock it trusts more than the one Gonzalez is currently winning. And, oh yeah, there is one more part of this. Gonzalez made that Ducati call into a factory team with 2 seats. There was one. Iker Lecuona had already been re-signed to the second factory Superbike seat before Gonzalez ever dialed. The only vacancy is Nicolo Bulegas, and standing in it already is Franco Morbidelli, a MotoGP race winner who is himself being squeezed out of the Premier Class at the end of this season. So the pattern looks set to repeat inside a single week. The Moto2 leader loses to a MotoGP cast-off. Now another one is favourite to beat him. This is where it stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like policy. Pit Beirer, KTM's racing director, was asked directly to compare Gonzalez and Agius, and his answer was not diplomatic. Young riders are like shares. You speculate on how well they'll develop in the future. Then the line that should have settled the argument. If you ask me today who's the better Moto2 rider, I'd say Gonzalez. And then he kept talking. But as for who will become the better MotoGP rider, I'm not so sure. Take that for what it is. Not an insult, a valuation. Beirer is saying results in Moto2 are the wrong instrument for measuring MotoGP value, and that this sport buys futures, not form. Which leaves Gonzalez with a problem nobody wants to say to his face. He is not a future anymore. He is a present, and a present has a fixed price. His manager, Eddie Ravelli, could see exactly what his rider was being measured against. Everyone wants to find the new Marc Marquez, but there's only one. That is a manager watching his rider lose to a fantasy. So walk the entire rookie class, the part no headline assembled. David Alonso goes to Honda. Danny Holgado goes to Gresini Ducati. Izan Guevara goes to Pramac Yamaha. Nicolo Bulega goes to VR46. Senna Agius goes to Tech 3 KTM. 5 rookies on the 2027 grid, and every one of them arrived with a manufacturer already behind him. Gonzalez has none. No academy, no factory contract trailing him up from Moto3, no Italian passport in a garage that openly wants one, and no rare passport either, in a sport shopping hard for new markets. He is Spanish on a grid already thick with Spaniards, which sounds like an advantage right up until it makes you replaceable. Bulega, the man whose seat Gonzalez is chasing, said the quiet part out loud in July. If I were Stefano Ciccone, it would be important for me to have an Italian in the team. That is the outgoing rider describing his own replacement to his own team owner. And none of it is about lap time. So here is the flip. People thought Gonzalez was choosing between MotoGP and Superbike. He was never choosing anything. There was no market for him to choose from, only a queue he was never standing in. And the championship did not protect him. It exposed him. Winning Moto2 at 23 made him proven, finished, and fully priced, which killed the only thing this paddock genuinely pays for: speculation. Let's be honest about the message the 2027 grid just sent every rider in the intermediate class. A Moto2 title is a receipt, not a ticket. It proves what you did. It buys you nothing that a discarded MotoGP rider does not already own more of, because that discarded rider brings premier class data, a known reference on the bike, and a name that sells a Superbike season. The paddock would rather rebuy a rider it already knows than pay to build one it does not. Cheaper, safer. And it is why Binder went from cut to signed in under a month, while Gonzalez went from favourite to nowhere in 6 days. And look where that leaves him. Ravelli is back in intensive talks with Intact GP about a third season with that team, the fallback nobody wants, dominating a class you have already outgrown while your ceiling gets defined by how long you can wait. Gonzalez saw it coming back in June when the Trackhouse links went cold. I hope to be able to say something, but I can't. I can't because I don't have anything. He was leading the World Championship when he said that. He still is. So when BMW turned away from the fastest man in Moto2 and bought the rider MotoGP had just finished with, they were not judging Gonzalez. They were pricing him. Would you sign the champion or the cast-off? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.